The issue that I think is that this is true for many men because of how they've been conditioned. It's ingrained in them to want it all. It's a hustle mentality. So this is why those who are raised in the South around men who made 14 children with one woman may have a different opinion. You are naturally inclined to have sex and procreate, but the fact of whether to do so with multiple women or one woman who brings you peace and stability is heavily dependent upon how you were raised. So, case in point, many of these men who believe this whole entitlement theory, that they're entitled to as many women as possible and they can't control themselves, they usually came from households where they grew up with a single mother who maybe hated them for their father's leaving, making the mother work 3 times as hard. Some didn't have any parents and were raised by grandparents or the foster care system. Some had fathers or male role models who told them that they weren't a real man unless they have a gang of women. Um, or they didn't get any street cred or any respect until they had a bunch of children by a bunch of women. Some of them didn't have any street cred until they had sex at an early age. So because the street life is not made for a faithful family man, um, and to be in these streets and make money from soliciting or whatever means that you have to be in the streets at all times of night. I feel like this is one of those reasons. You have to factor in all of this. So that's kind of where this logic or lack thereof comes from. Because many of these men are unaware of the fact that um because they also come with this mentality of never having feelings, right? So because of that, they never explore their truth, they never explore their traumas, and they live this false life of pretense. They won't realize it until you actually ask that same group of men, how many of y'all came from broken homes? How many of y'all hang with other men who were raised in the same fashion? Right? And that's when you'll see the commonality amongst them. These are the same men who refuse to feel any feelings, so they never cultivate any meaningful connections with any of their women, but then they get upset that they can't find any good quality women who actually love them. And these same men feel entitled to dogging out these women, but then they still require unconditional love or expecting it from these same women that they've in turn hurt. So it's the sense of everyone else is at fault, everyone else is wrong for leaving these men, again, an unresolved mother wound that they refuse to heal. But then they're able to cheat and they're allowed to cheat and disrespect the same woman, but then she's supposed to always stay. Like who? Like a mother with an ungrateful child. That's the expectation that they carry into these unhealthy dynamics and relationships. So their logic actually comes from a mother trauma and a father abandonment that they're looking to heal. And because of great majority of these men, specifically black men, they share the same story. You can gather them in a group together like this and manipulate people into thinking that this is true and that men biologically are cheaters and have no ounce of self-control. But then in the same breath, you can utter that these men are better leaders because they have self-control and can control their emotions. When really you've proven time and time again and you continue to prove that they can't control themselves. So wanting to have every woman is indeed a sign that you are trying to go above and beyond to prove your value, which in turn is an insecurity. And then making children and then leaving them. That's a learned abandonment style. That behavior is definitely a from unlearned abandonment issue. And so when we start to see these connections, we're able to understand the whys behind them. And not necessarily that they're factual, but that they're just conditioned behaviors. So it's just something to consider. I'm not saying that I'm right. There's no right and wrong. It's your opinion, but it is heavily mine that this can explain the reasoning why, for these group of men, it seemed to make sense. And they shared some similar experiences. So, later.